Hey story seekers, it's Nesha, and you are now listening to Nesha's Open Diary, where the stories are real and the tea is all about me. And this wasn't like the Janet Jackson thing, like, oops, I had a little nip slip. No, the whole thing was out, bobbing around in the water like a bobber you put in the water when you fishing. Like, yeah, it was out there, and everybody got them a good old look at it, too. Welcome to Nesha's Open Diary. I am Nesha, and you are listening to Nesha's Open Diary, where my story times are true and my experiences are real. This story time is about the time I was involuntarily pushed off of a diving board into the deep end of a pool. So it's about 2008, and I am embarking on a new career path. And in this particular career, you had to know how to swim, because there will always be a possibility that you might end up in a Titanic type of situation. And you had to know how to swim for your survival. And I was going through my training, and the swimming portion came up. And for starters, I'm scared because I knew that I was going to have to jump off of a diving board into the deep end. And I had never jumped off of a diving board because I'm not a risk taker. And I just ain't the type to be jumping off of no diving board. I don't swim in the deep end. I play it safe. I'm 5'7", and I only go almost to the 6 feet. So that if the water, ever goes over my head, and if I ever get in trouble and I feel like, it might be a possibility where I got to try to, get out of there before I drown or something, I feel like if I go like close to the 6 feet, that's not over my head really. So I feel like I could easily get myself out of the water if I had to. So same thing with the diving board. I'm not the one to voluntarily climb up no stairs and go get on no diving board and jump off. It just ain't me. To me, that's equivalent to people who go skydiving. I'm not voluntarily jumping out of a perfectly good plane. The only time you're going to catch me jumping out of a plane is if it's about to crash. And shit, I'm still going to be scared then. But it's going to have to be a forced situation for me to do it. And so I prefer to enter the pool from the shallow end. And then I work my way up to the 6 feet, which is basically my limit. So as I'm sitting in these bleachers watching other people go, my nerves are shot. And I'm not the only one that's scared to go up there and jump off the diving board, because there were several people there who had never jumped off of a diving board, or who felt the same way that I feel about the situation, or who would, see themselves never doing that. And so I was scared and I wanted to back out. And it wasn't even my turn yet. I was dreading my turn, and my anxiety was, like a lot of times, through the roof. Not only that, I know someone who had a diving board accident where he flipped off and he tumbled. And when he jumped off the diving board, he went to the bottom of the pool and broke his neck. As in, his neck was collapsed. As in, it was surprising that he didn't die. And he had to get all type of pins and bolts put into his neck to hold it up. And he had screws even drilled into his skull. It was crazy to see and look at. But he did eventually recover from it. So I was really afraid to jump off. And eventually my turn came. I took a deep breath and I began to climb that ladder. And climbing up that ladder, for me, it felt like I was going up that ladder to go walk the plank. Call me dramatic, but that's what it felt like to me. You would have think I was about to go walk the plank to my death, because that's what it felt like. In my head, it was just going to be the worst situation ever. It's always the first time for everything. And it was so high. Like, as I'm climbing up, it was really, really high. And so I finally reached the top, and I was panicking. And the instructor was at the very beginning. Like, when you get up to the last stair, before you step up onto the diving board, the instructor is right there. And he tells you what to do and when to go. And I just couldn't bring myself to jump off. My fear took over. I was scared because of how high it was. I was scared because I didn't swim in the deep end. And then all that was in my mind was the guy who had the accident, who broke his neck. So I decided I couldn't do it. I just can't do it. And I'm telling the instructor, look, I can't do this. And I'm telling him, I'm going to go back down. And he tells me to turn around and just do it. Don't think about it. I'm all in my head about it. So I turn around and I'm trying to jump, but my feet won't move. My feet are planted firmly on that diving board because I don't want to take the chance of slipping off and falling because I ain't got no intentions of ever jumping off in the first place. So I then feel the instructor's hand in the small of my back, and he then shoved me off the diving board. All I know is I was in mid-air, flapping around like a fish out of water. I was having a whole anxiety attack in the midst of me free falling, and I hit the water like a ton of bricks. And I go down into the water, and when I come back up to the surface, I gulp and I'm gasping for air because I was not ready. I literally was stunned and surprised that I was off the diving board and falling because, again, I had never took the leap. So I was shocked that he pushed me off like that. And after I came back up, I'm just stunned. And I'm trying to get my bearings. And then, as I kind of get my bearings or whatever, and I'm taking my deep breaths and stuff or whatever, I'm then being yelled at by other instructors. Because this is a room full of people. Like, the bleachers is full of people. Like how it be when you go to a stadium somewhere and you watching a game or watching some type of event. It's that many people in there. It's people in the bleachers. It's all type of instructors around the pools. It's people everywhere, right? And everybody is watching when everybody goes to take their turn. So the instructors are yelling at me. And they have this way of talking to you that kind of degrades you. They talk down to you. And they're like female. And I can't even say it like how the instructors would say it, especially the female instructors. They had the nastiest way. But the way that they would say female was like from a degrading point to where they would tear you down to then turn around and build you up and make you stronger and able to face things that the average person cannot face, given the type of things in the career that you would have to deal with. When I look down to see what they're talking about and what they're pointing at, my breasts are just out. And the front of the swimsuit is just down and I'm totally exposed. And it was like, female, fix yourself. And I'm like, what is they talking about? Baby, I'm trying to make sure I ain't about to drown in this deep end. And y'all talking about fix myself. I don't know what they talking about because I'm trying to figure out, if I'm going to make it out of this pool alive at this point. And I don't know what they're talking about until they start pointing at my breast that had come out of my swimsuit. I was so embarrassed. All the people seen my breasts. Then they start yelling at me to swim from the deep end back to the, to the shallow end, head in that direction. It was so many people in there and they had all seen my breasts. And now I got to try to gather myself and swim all the way back down and finish that training portion. I was so irritated and annoyed by the instructor because he involuntarily pushed me off the diving board. And it would have been my word against his because, again, everybody could see up there, but you could not see up there clear enough to know whether or not I jumped or whether or not he pushed me. And I just did not expect for him to do that. And I was caught off guard and I felt violated and I was irritated because I told him I wasn't going, that I was going back down the ladder and he pushed me. And I could have got hurt, and that's why I was so irritated by him. But I guess I can thank him because if he wouldn't have pushed me off of that, then that means I would have been what they call washed out, as in I would have been sent home because I wouldn't have been able to continue training because I wouldn't have been able to pass that portion of it, which is mandatory. You have to. Actually, you have to pass all of the things that they put you through. So, that was my time that I was involuntarily pushed off of a diving board. I was pissed because I was scared. But then after the fact, I was kind of relieved because in a lot of situations, people don't try stuff. And I'm one of those people who, after I do something I'm afraid to do, I do feel a sense of relief. And I do be like, okay, I felt like I could have did that or whatever. But if it would have been left up to me, that's an experience I wouldn't have never had because I wasn't going to do it. So I was irritated by the instructor pushing me off. But then after the fact, I was glad that I got through it. But it's just not something I would have done on my own. So maybe that's why he did it. He gave me the nudge that I needed because I couldn't have done it if it was just left up to me. All right, story seekers, that is all for this story time. I am out of here. Make sure you follow me on all socials at Nesha's Open Diary and my website at nesha'sopendiary.podbean.com. And until next time, I will meet you where the pen meets the diary. All right, story seekers, that does it for this story time. I'm out of here. Until next time, make sure you tap in, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nesha's Open Diary, and I will meet you where the pen meets the diary.